Presenting the PR Maven podcast, hosted by Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven, targeted at business leaders who want to merge the best techniques of traditional networking with the best new platforms and technologies to engage your target audience, build your network, and grow your brand and business. The podcast is sponsored by Marshall Communications, Maine-based, globally connected. As we get ready for another great episode, remember, you can always connect with Nancy and other listeners on the PR Maven Nation group page on Facebook. Now, here's your host, Nancy Marshall.
Hello, PR Maven Nation. Welcome to the PR Maven podcast, episode number 35, presented by Marshall Communications, creator of the Marshall Plan 65-Step Strategic Process. For those of you who are new to the show, I'm your host, Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I want to welcome you. And for those of you who have been loyal listeners, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. My podcast provides my own unique perspective on the world of public relations and personal branding, including what I hope will be actionable takeaways. I want to really emphasize the importance of enhancing traditional relationship building with all of the technology available today to connect with other people and maintain relationships. So every week, the podcast features interviews with successful industry leaders, top executives, and media personalities from around the globe. And this week's guest is no exception. I want to welcome Stu Tinker, the owner of SK Tours of Maine, LLC. Welcome, Stu.
Well, thank you, Nancy. It's a real pleasure to be here. I appreciate you asking me.
Yeah, well, we're here today at Husson University at the New England School of Communications, NESCOM, and this is the first time being here, and it's a really impressive facility. So quite honored that they allowed us to record here today. So Stu Tinker is a lifelong resident of Bangor, Maine, and along with his wife, he owned and operated Betts Bookstore for 20 years, where they specialized in Stephen King books and memorabilia. Stu also owned and operated a limousine service for a number of years, transporting people like Stephen King, Drew Barrymore, Kenney Rogers, wow, Ann and Nancy Wilson from Heart, John Mellencamp, Cheap Trick, and many others. Wow, that's quite a list of customers you've had.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
His knowledge of the King world, as in Stephen King world, in and around quote-unquote Derry, is second to none. Stu has been Stephen King's fan since 1974, when Carrie was first published, and has remained so ever since. In 1990, he bought Betts Bookstore and has always kept a complete catalog of both Stephen and Tabitha's works in stock in hardcover and paperback for 20 years. Because of the help that the Kings gave his business, his store became well known worldwide as the place to go for Stephen King items. During the last 9 years that he owned the store, he was 100% Stephen King. And after selling the store, he and his wife decided to do Stephen King tours here in Derry. Yes, so we're in Bangor today, which is quote-unquote Derry. And we'll hear more about that, I'm sure, from Stu. So, Stu, it's just so great to have you, because you're an example of somebody who has really built your reputation and, your personal brand. So why don't you tell us about your career and how you got into it in the first place?
Well, there was a number of years I worked for other people, typical. And after a while, it just got to be dull. And I made the decision. I actually was working for an automobile manufacturer, and I would fly to Newark, New Jersey every Monday morning, fly home Friday night. And it just got to be too much after 4 years or so. And I got thinking about having my own business. So Penny, my wife, and I were driving around Bangor looking and saying, that would be an interesting business. That would be interesting. And we found Betts Bookstore was up for sale. Now, that was the oldest bookstore in Bangor. It started in 1938. And it's strange because I bought my very first book at Betts Bookstore when I was 7 years old. I always went to the library prior to that. I was a big reader. But I went in and bought a book for my father for Christmas and always went back to it.
Do you remember what the book was?
Yeah, it was a little observer's guide of aircraft, and a little tiny thing. Still have it.
Was he a pilot?
Yes, yeah, we both are. So
Nice.
yeah, we went in and talked to the owner, and she had the store for 3 or 4 years, and wanted to get out, and her price was way out of sight for what we were thinking and for what was left for inventory. So we left, and I continued to work out in New Jersey for a couple of months. And one weekend we were driving through town, and there was a sign in the window saying last weekend. And so we just went in to kind of see if there was anything left, and there really wasn't. And the owner remembered us, and she says, "Make me an offer." And I opened my mouth and ended up buying a store, and had no idea what we were doing, didn't have any money, didn't have any experience. But both of us were big readers all our lives and big King fans. So we went around to the other bookstores in town. The thing that we noticed is nobody stocked Stephen King books. They had a few of the current paperbacks, but that would be it. So the two of us made the decision we'd put everything in, both hardcover and paperback. And that's how we started out. Found a distributor that would sell books, and they were very good about helping set up a new bookstore. They knew what you should start with for inventory, and they would send it. And so we got started very slowly. And Stephen King had stopped doing book signings altogether about 6 years prior to that. And he agreed to do one for us, which it made the store legitimate again because it had been run down pretty hard in the last few owners. And after that, he was in the store for 5 years. About every 2 weeks he'd come in.
Well, you're essentially answering the next question because it was give me an example of how PR and social media have helped to advance you personally or your organization or a client. And obviously having Stephen King being willing to do a book signing there. And, there is a saying, the riches are in the niches. And so you obviously niched your business down to Stephen King. So that was a critical decision that you made.
With his help, I worked the first 9 months by myself, 7 days a week. And Penny had a full-time job outside and she'd come down usually Saturday and work for half a day, and then the rest of the weekend, had stuff at home to do. With Steve's help, we eventually built the store up. We had 3 floors of books and 12 full-time employees. It wouldn't have happened if he hadn't got us started in those first 5 years. And then Borders came to Bangor, and I knew I couldn't compete with them, so that's when we changed to be 100% Stephen King. But we had gotten into computers through a customer, actually. He lived in Connecticut and kind of mentored me on computers because I knew nothing about them. Our first one was a Tandy from Radio Shack and AOL.
I remember those. Yep. You've got mail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And showed me how to start a web page and make changes on it. And it just started to grow. At the end of it, we had a little over 4,000 email addresses and physical addresses of King fans throughout the world.
So tell me about how the tours all came about.
Well, I sold the store 10 years ago to a customer, and the verbal deal was he would leave it in Bangor, and I would work part-time with him. And unfortunately, his wife didn't want to stay in Bangor. She was originally from Connecticut, so they closed the store and moved down there. And I didn't know what I was going to do because I was way too young to retire and didn't have enough money to retire anyway. So I kicked around for 5 or 6 months, and we had done tours off and on in conjunction with the store since 1991. We had a fan club show up, and there were 60 people, which we didn't know was coming. They just showed up one weekend and had decided to have a little conference in Bangor, and they all met at our bookstore. And so that Sunday that they were here, we rented a coach and took them around the area. We called it the IT Tour because most of that book takes place in Bangor, of course, or Derry. And that's how we got started with the tour. Once the store was sold, and after I had bothered Penny for 5 or 6 months, tripping over me, she suggested doing a tour once in a while. And It just exploded. The word got out through our web page and former customers, and we outgrew the first van the first year. We had a 7-passenger town and country van. So we bought a 12-passenger one for the second year and had the 2 vans, and we outgrew that one. So now we have a little tour bus, and some days during the summertime, both the bus and the van's on the road at the same time. Penny does a tour. Usually goes a different direction than what I go, so she's not following me all around town. But we wave as we go by each other. And sometimes there's 25 people all together. So
I think that's really awesome what you have done.
Well, it's amazing what the web can do for you. Last October, I had a family from Siberia. It was a husband, wife, and son. All 3 were Stephen King fans. The parents only read him in Russian. Their son read both English and Russian. Spoke English quite well, very heavily accented. And I'd had a lot of people from Russia over the years, but never from Siberia.
Well, there's an expression, again, in addition to the riches are in the niches, another expression is about the long tail of the web. So the example of, how with the internet, you can focus on one thing and create a tail that goes very deep. So you obviously attracted these people from Siberia because of the Stephen King connection, and then they saw that you had the tours. So again, that's my next question is about how PR, marketing, and social media have changed drastically over the course of obviously both of our careers. And what techniques are you using now that you were not using when you started out?
Well, with the web-based page that we've got, you can make a reservation, you can pay for it right on the web page. It's amazing how easy it's become to do business with people all over the world. The people outside the country tend to book earlier. I've got bookings right now into 2020. People that are planning long range for vacations from, Germany or Spain or wherever. I've had 3 countries from the Middle East. People come, which has really surprised me. I knew Steve was in Arabic. He's in 47 different languages, but I didn't really expect anybody from the Mideast countries to come to Bangor, Maine. It's amazing the draw that he has, and it's just worked so well for us, both with the bookstore and now with the tours.
Does he ever show up for any of the tours?
Actually, he does. Once in a while, Steve will see the van at the house, and he'll come down and talk to everybody, and it's a lot of fun. The reactions of our guests it's very varied. I've had people actually get into the van and shut the door when he's coming, and it just blows me away. I mean, they've got an actual chance to stand in front of him and speak to him, and they get in the van. And then I've had other people that just stand there and stare.
Yeah, they're probably starstruck.
They are. And he is very good. He's very down to earth. He's very good at calming people down, and you will get some people that burst into tears in front of him. I mean, they've read him since they were kids, and they've seen movies, and he's just it's unbelievable to him that he's standing in front of them.
Larger than life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and aren't you lucky that he embraced your vision too and has helped you along?
Yeah.
Well, I know he and Tabitha are very philanthropic and have helped libraries all over the state, certainly.
Yeah, libraries and schools and police departments, animal shelters, women's shelters.
Yeah.
They are extremely generous. Tabitha's passion is libraries, and she put an addition on the Old Town Library with the money she had made from her books. And
well, I was the chairman of the board of the Carrabassett Valley Public Library at one time, and I know that their donation to that library enabled us to build a completely new library, which is quite beautiful. And
isn't it amazing?
Amazing. Yeah, it is. It's wonderful because I have always loved libraries myself, too. I volunteered in my hometown library growing up and just always loved being around books.
There's nothing like it.
I know. It made me so happy.
Kids today
we're both kind of nerdy. I hate to tell you, but nerds are good, right?
It's amazing to me, though, that I'm finding kids that are 10 or 11 years old that are just discovering Stephen King. To me, I always said, 13, 14 was an age to get going with him. Today's kids seem to be able to grasp his stuff a little earlier. They're not offended by the language or the subject or anything. He's not a children's book author.
No.
He really isn't. But there's a whole new generation coming along.
Yeah, and the difference between a book and a movie, as my mother always used to say, is with a book, I mean, there might be graphic things, but you can only conjure up what you can in your own head, as opposed to a movie, it's right there laid out for you. So, my philosophy is that if it helps get children passionate about reading from an early age, more power to them. And thanks, Stephen and Tabitha King, for paving the way.
Yeah.
So, what have been some of the obstacles to success in your career, and how have you overcome them?
Well, lack of money is a big one. That's true for anybody starting any business. And my lack of knowledge about computers. I mean, I didn't have computers in school. It took a while to catch on to it. I'm still not very good with it. But I can maintain a mailing list, and I can make changes on the webpage. And I do have a professional host of the webpage now, so they made it look a little better than mine that was cobbled together. But that's a big thing is learn as much as you can about what you're going to be doing and the things that help you along, like computers.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the other thing is that I think that people who are too much into their computers and social media might not read books as much. So there's a fine balance.
Yeah. But, I'm looking at tourists, of course, and so, the Maine tourist is huge. I mean, it's a huge industry in this state, and there's a lot of information out there that professionals can help you with. And
right.
Take advantage of that.
That's right.
If you're starting a new business, SCORE is a great thing. The retired
Service Corps of Retired Executives.
Right. There's so much knowledge there, and they're willing to share it with you. And
that's a great thing.
Yeah, you should take advantage of that if you're starting something.
Yes. Well, Stu, we're going to be right back, but first we're going to take a quick break. It's time for our giveaway of my book, PR Works, and a famous Things to Do Today pad for those of you who are OCD like I am about accomplishing all of your things to do. So to win a copy of my book, PR Works, and a PR Maven Nation Things to Do pad, visit prmaven.com/giveaway and sign up, because today you could be our next lucky winner. And we will be back in just a moment after our message from Marshall Communications, founder and creator of the Marshall Plan.
Hey, PR Maven Nation, Greg here from Marshall Communications. I want to talk about your marketing strategy. Some days, do you feel like you're a hamster running in a wheel? Perhaps you're running the same ad in the same publication because that's the way you've always done it. Or do you not know how many media impressions you got from that news story last month? Do you sometimes feel like you're doing a lot of work but not seeing the results? Well, the good news is you're not a hamster. And if you're feeling like your marketing plan could be better, we'd love to help. At Marshall Communications, we worked with a wide range of businesses and organizations to create a customized marketing strategy known as the Marshall Plan. During a period of 3 months, we meet with you and your top stakeholders to learn about your world, what keeps you up at night, and best of all, the ways we can work together to combine your knowledge and our marketing and public relations experience to avoid the feeling of spinning in a wheel and create a 3-year marketing plan that provides you with a vision for success. The Marshall Plan is a fully customized document using our 65 proprietary steps and leads to a playbook for your success. And trust me, it feels so much better than running around in a wheel. Now's a great time for you to grow your business, increase your profits, and most importantly, measure your results. If you think your business or organization would be a candidate for a Marshall Plan, you can take our Marshall Plan quiz to find out. Visit marshallpr.com/quiz. And if you'd like to schedule a free consultation about a Marshall Plan, visit marshallpr.com/consult or call us at 207-623-4177. Be sure to mention the code PODCAST for your free gift.
Welcome back. And today we're talking with Stu Tinker, owner of SK Tours of Maine, LLC. And I want to dive right back in with more questions. Stu, how do you measure success in your PR, social media, and marketing?
Well, obviously, when you're getting enough income in to pay the bills, that's a big success story. Because when you start out in any business, no matter what it is, don't expect to make money right off the bat. Everything that you earn tends to get pushed back into the business. When we bought the bookstore, Penny told me the number one rule was I couldn't fall in love with the inventory. And as much as I loved getting a limited edition Stephen King book in or an autograph book, I had to sell it. And sometimes it hurt. It was like, boy, I'd like that in my own collection, and you just can't do that. So that's something that younger people starting out need to realize, that you're not going to get rich right off the bat, and you need to talk to people that can help you and guide you and share their experience with you.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Having had a business now for almost 30 years, I know exactly about those building years. Those are tough years. So, Stu, most successful people have a network of fans and followers, either online or in person or both. How have you built your own network of fans and followers, and has it been a conscious goal or has it happened on its own?
Well, it really happened on its own. The people that we're connected with the bookstore, there's a lot of them that became very close personal friends. Some of them would come to Bangor and stay at our house, and we have traveled and stayed with them. There were a couple, probably three really basically super collectors that I talked to literally every single day. They would call, see if anything had come in, or if we were on the track of anything, or tell me what they had found. And they just became part of the family. And we're finding that now with the tours. I'm getting people that come back several times. Got a girl in California. She has done the tour 4 times. She's coming back next month. I try to make it a little different each time. I mean, there's just so many things here in town, but we can usually find something that they haven't seen before. I had a couple get engaged in front of Stephen and Tabitha's house, and I thought that was kind of neat. The next year, they came back and they got married there. And
That's so awesome.
Yeah, they've done, and they met at a conference, a horror conference that was featuring Stephen King. He was not there, but he was the feature of the conference, and that's how the two of them met. And I mean, that's kind of fun.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Well, that ties right in with my next question, because my own personal opinion about building a brand is about building a community or a tribe, or some people might even call it cult, of raving fans who are brand ambassadors. And so I think that if people meet each other kind of under your brand umbrella, they will always remember, oh yeah, we met on one of those SK tours. So can you tell me how that happens and how you've kind of built your brand community that way?
Well, you're in a van or you're in a bus for 3 hours. You do get in and out. I mean, you're not trapped in either one of them, but you'll get fans talking to each other, and they discover different likes and dislikes, and they have picked different things up in the books, the stories, or even the movies. There's a lot of things hidden in Steve's movies. They call Easter eggs, and some people catch them, some people don't. And it's so much fun to listen to them. I've heard a lot of people tell me that it's the only time they've been able to talk about enjoying Stephen King's books, because they're at work and somebody says, "What are you reading?" "I'm reading Stephen King's book." And they'll go, "Oh, I don't like him. I don't like horror. I don't like this." And they kind of look down on you. They get with us and they're with like-minded people, and you can just see them light up. I mean, it's fun to talk to somebody that shares the same interest.
It's contagious.
It is. Yeah, it is. And I've had an awful lot of people. Usually we found over the years that if you have a couple, one is the fan, the other's kind of dragged along. It's the thing you do. But at the end of the tour, the non-fan will say, well, I think I want to try one of his books. That makes my whole day.
That's
it really
awesome.
does.
Yeah, to have a new fan for Stephen King books.
And on our webpage, we have I reproduced an email that we got from a girl from Russia. She was one of 6 people that came and made it perfectly clear when she got in the van with me that she had no interest in it. She was just coming along. They were doing a tour of the East Coast, and her girlfriend was a big King fan, and she told me she didn't like horror. She didn't really enjoy reading. And a few months after the tour, I got this email from her. She'd already read 6 Stephen King books. She was so
great.
excited about it, and it's, that's what makes it all worthwhile.
Well, I think that's probably why you're so successful, Stu, is because you share that passion and enthusiasm. It's not just an avocation, or it's not a vocation, it's an avocation. Yeah. It's your life passion.
Yeah, it is.
And, I just love the fact that you have so much enthusiasm for Stephen King and that you share it. And also it helps introduce people to reading, which I think is just
it does
the most important skill in life.
Yeah. And, we focus on Steve, but I try to get in Tabby's works because she's a very good writer. She didn't get the critical acclaim that I think she deserved, but she wrote some great books. And now the 2 boys are writing. Joe writes as Joe Hill and has been very successful. His books, he's very much like his dad, and he looks just like him. Owen has 2.5 books out. He and Steve wrote one together back last year called Sleeping Beauties. He hasn't had the success that Joe has had yet, but they come by that talent naturally.
Yeah, it's probably in their genes.
I would think so.
So how has your network helped to promote the tours? Have you had people go back and talk it up at home and then bring back friends and
Absolutely.
relatives?
Yeah, every summer I'll have repeat customers, and they're bringing their brother, their sister, their mother, or somebody, a friend, because they talked about it so much. The other one wants to do it, so they come back and do it, and it just kind of word of mouth spreads it, and it's from all over the place,
Yeah, well, you've said you've had guests from all over the world, so that's really quite amazing.
And I've had people fly into Bangor, I pick them up at the airport, do the tour, and take them right back to the airport. It's the only reason they came to Bangor was to do the tour. And it's just, I can't get over that.
Wow.
Well,
of course, because we promote Maine tourism at Marshall Communications, I wish they would stay a few days and go to Acadia or go down to the coast or
And a
Portland.
lot of them do.
Yeah.
A lot of them will book a room here in Bangor, stay for several days, and take day trips out of here. And we try to push them towards the coast and up towards Moosehead Lake. And,
Good. I'm glad you're sending them inland.
And it's fun because when they get home, a lot of them will email me pictures, not only of the tour, but of the moose they saw in Greenville. And, they're all excited about that. So,
oh, yeah. Great. Yeah. Well, of course, talking about tours, Moosehead has a lot of great moose tours.
Oh, yeah.
You can do tours on foot, in a canoe, in an airplane. Yeah. So that's great. So in your line of work, Stu, what is a resource such as a book, a website, or an app that you have found helpful and why?
Well, it's kind of hard to answer. I'm always searching anything Stephen King based on the web. Also searching for other tour companies to see what they do and different things. I think we're priced lower than most. I hope we are. We try to make it affordable for a family. Anybody that has children that's under 12 are free. And we also are pet friendly. We have dogs with us all the time, and that's a lot of fun. I love dogs. I usually keep dog cookies in both vans, and they'll sit up front between the 2 front seats usually.
Oh, that's so great.
But the only thing I can say is just keep searching for whatever your niche is, and take advantage of other people's success and failures.
Right.
It does happen.
Exactly. We've all had them, but the important thing is to learn from it and get up and move on.
Yeah. If you make a mistake, just try not to do it again.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's the best kind of a lesson.
Yeah.
So what is your one piece of advice for someone starting out in their career?
Don't expect to be successful right off the bat. It's not going to happen. You're going to put in long hours. You're going to work 7 days a week, and you're going to work more than 9 to 5. Believe me. At the store, I would go in at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning, not get out of there till 9 or 10 at night. It's hard work, but it's so rewarding. It really is. It's so much more fun than working for somebody else.
I would agree. But I do laugh when people say they want to start their own business because they want freedom. And I always say, yeah, freedom pretty much to work all the time. Yeah. And even when you're not working, you're still thinking about it. Yeah. So it is, you do have to be passionate about what you're doing or else it's not going to work.
Yeah. If it isn't fun, you don't want to do it. It's just... That's the only thing I can say is I found it to be extremely rewarding and a lot of fun, both the store and now the tours.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I think it sounds great. I haven't done one of the tours, but you've sold me, so I'm going to sign up to come this summer.
Anytime. Just give me a call. Tell me you're coming.
That's great. So do you have one parting thought you'd like to share with PR Maven Nation?
Keep listening. Keep listening. You're going to learn by listening to these podcasts. So.
Thank you, Stu. Yep. That's awesome. I'd like to encourage people to keep listening too, because, my whole premise is that people need to do what you've done, which is the face-to-face interaction, because I think that's really where the magic happens between two people, because there really are hormones that transmit between people only when you're in the same space. Dopamine, serotonin, the happy hormones, but we need to use the technology. We need to connect on social media and connect in other ways using the computer, because that's how you stay connected. So I bet that now that people have come from Serbia, for example, you probably send them follow-up emails and other things to try to encourage them to come back?
We do. With the store, we used to put out a quarterly newsletter, and it was expensive because you had to have it printed and then you had to mail it, but it was very successful because people read it and they hung on to it. I've had people come on the tour and they've got a newsletter that we sent out in 1991 or two and say, I bought this book from you, and that's fun. And with the connection to the Stephen King and Tabitha King world, we've had write-ups in People magazine. We've been in the New York Times. We've been on the Los Angeles papers, and that all helps. I mean, you can't go wrong with any kind of publicity, as long as I spell your name right. I think that's what the saying is.
You're a very good advocate for PR, actually. Yeah. Are you in Wikipedia?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Cool.
I don't think there's a lot there. I don't check that very often.
Yeah.
TripAdvisor has been a big help for us.
Oh, good.
We've got like 900 reviews on there that are all 5 stars.
Wow, that's awesome. So many people would just kill to have that.
Yeah, we have 2 that are 1 star, and that was deserved because I forgot the people. They didn't get to do the tour.
But you know what? That almost makes the 5-star ratings that much better, because if they were all if you had 905 stars and no reviews with anything less, people wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But again, the fact that you got those 1-star ratings, and I'm sure you responded and apologized.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was just a mix-up in the scheduling and on our part, not theirs. It was our problems. So. That's one of the mistakes. Try not to do a second time.
You learn
in that case, we're not going to do it a third time.
No. So my final question is to help PR Maven Nation to connect with you and to sign up for one of your tours. What's the best way they can sign up for a tour and connect with Stu?
Well, our webpage is sk-tours.com. And email, it's sk-tours@msn.com. I do most of it through email and the webpage, and also call.
How about social media?
Facebook, we have a couple of different pages. We're on Yelp. I'm not real experienced with Yelp, so I'm not too up on that. But Facebook is perfect.
Okay. Well, thanks, Stu. This has been a lot of fun. I want to thank you for joining me here on the PR Maven podcast today. And, your tours sound fantastic. And just want to remind listeners that if they would like to communicate with me and give feedback on today's episode or suggest another guest to me, I'm at nancy@prmaven.com. And this podcast is presented by Marshall Communications, which is the creator of the 65-step Marshall Plan process. And to learn more about the Marshall Plan, visit marshallpr.com. And we do have a webinar series, actually, that's free. And we have free monthly webinars at marshallpr.com/webinars. So thanks for tuning in today. And please give us a rating, a review, just like Stu thrives on those 5-star ratings that he has gotten. If you are listening on any of the podcast players, I'd appreciate if you could give us a review. And please do subscribe, because that's what keeps us going. And just remember to keep building those relationships, embracing new technology, and building your tribe. So have a great week, PR Maven Nation.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the PR Maven podcast. For show notes, links, and guest contact information, visit prmaven.com. If you'd like to connect with Nancy and the rest of PR Maven Nation, be sure to find our group on Facebook. We encourage you to subscribe to the podcast and share our content to bring on great guests with more information. Plus, you can also connect with your target audience, build your network, and build your brand.